What's going on, everybody? It's Scotty with Flat Track Flashback, and here we go. It's time to hit the reset button on the 2025 Progressive American Flat Track season. We've had plenty of time off, and now it's time to get to the most exciting part of this schedule. We've got an epic couple of weeks of racing set up here, and it's going to start with the pushing the cushion, the amateur racing there in Lima before we get the Triple Challenge debut at Lima. Another day of racing on Saturday in Lima. That leads right into Amateur Nationals. And then the Magic Mile, the Quoin Mile. This stretch, like we said, arguably the most exciting part of the American Flat Track season. But again, beginning this weekend, stretching through these next 3 months, we've got the remaining 10 rounds of the schedule, maybe 11. We'll see what happens with that whole Sturgis TT cancellation and if anything's going to fill that void. But yeah, the rest of the season wraps up over these next 3 months. We've got the Amateur Nationals happening. This is the most exciting time to be a Flat Track fan. There's so much going on these next few weeks, especially to get this ball rolling. And we're going back to an absolutely iconic facility, a super historic racetrack. And while it's an older facility, like we said, Triple Crown, we've got new wrinkles thrown in. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Lima. Let's preview what we've got ahead of us for the return of Progressive American Flat Track. We're jazzed up. You guys should be too. Let's lock in, everybody. All right, so the Triple Challenge, here we go. It's sort of like the Triple Crown for Supercross, but the points are going to be a little bit different. And one thing to note here, these main events are going to all be shorter than what you would normally get on a Saturday night AFT race. So main event number 1 is going to be lined up based on your qualifying times throughout the day. And that race is only going to be 10 laps. It's only a couple laps more than a heat race. So big time sprint speed is going to pay off here. You're going to want to get out front quick, especially at a track like Lima. You get buried behind that roost, you might as well just mail it in that first race. Main event number 1 pays your standard amount of like what you would normally see on championship points, but it does not go to the championship just yet. You're going to accumulate event points throughout each of these main events. Main event number 2 gets the double multiplier. So those points that you earn from main event 1, well, you're going to go 5 more laps and you're going to get double the points. That main event is going to be lined up based on your finish from main event number 1. Now, take those points, you head into main event number 3. Main event number 3, lined up based off of the main event number 2 finish, a triple multiplier, 3 times the points. That could make a lot of difference for riders who maybe struggled earlier on. It also adds an element of that final main event really being the finale. 20 laps, again, still shorter than what you would probably see even the singles riders going on most of these tracks. Maybe with the exception of the miles, but definitely shorter than a normal twins main event under these new, minute formats that they've had in place the past few years. So still, these 3 main events, you're going to accumulate points throughout the event. At the end of the night, those points tallied up to get your overall results and your overall winner. And from there, the championship points will be paid. So, hey, maybe somebody wins the first 2 main events, but then struggles in the third and loses that overall victory. We could definitely see it happen. I don't know that I see anybody winning all 3 main events at Lima. Maybe when we go to the mile or the short track, that might switch it up. But I think Lima is going to be incredible. Those opening main events are going to set quite a tone with them being such short races. Again, only 2 laps more than a normal heat race. So you're going to have to get out of the gate, get fired up, get after it. And some of these riders who show really good short race speed, really good sprint speed, it's going to be a great opportunity for them to really get out front and really set the tone and put themselves in a great spot throughout the rest of the night. So we're looking forward to it. Super cool element that Jared Mees is introducing there in Lima. And man, I can't wait to see it all unfold this weekend at the Allen County Fairgrounds. With the twins class, we're coming in here. We've got Briar Bauman on a 3-race winning streak. If he wins Friday in Lima, it would tie his career best for 4 races in a row that he's won. He accomplished that back in 2020 during that championship season. And man, they've just been on a roll, but they've been doing this on shorter tracks, on clay tracks. And now we're going to open it up. We're going to go to much bigger facilities, going to let those Harleys eat, going to let these twins, all these singles, going to let them rip around these half miles and the mile of DuQuoin too. But just because Briar's found success on the clay tracks this year and is on that winning streak, hey, he's coming into a track in Lima where he's won 3 times in the past. And he's won on every other year over the past couple of years. 2021, he picks up the victory on the Indian. 2023 gets the victory on the KTM. And so here we go. 2025, does he get that? Does he get the victory again this time on a Harley Davidson? And let's not forget, Briar also won this race back in 2017 on a Kawasaki, and then had that odd occurrence with his tire in 2019. Who knows? Maybe we could have been talking about Briar being the 17, 19, 21, 23 winner. But nonetheless, he's sitting at 3 right now, tied with Joe Kopp and Steve Moorhead. pretty good company. But if he wins again in Lima, if he gets that 4th victory, yeah, he'll get to extend that championship lead for sure. But he'll also become or join Chris Carr for a rider with 4 wins at that facility, and Jared Mees has 5. So if Breyer's able to sweep this weekend in Lima and get those 5 wins, he'd be tied with Jared. However, Scotty Parker, the all-time wins leader at Lima, he's got 7. Nobody's touching that this year. Parker just so many successful attempts there at the Allen County Fairgrounds. And, are we surprised that Scotty Parker's won a lot on a cushion half mile? I don't think so. But yeah, Breyer's riding a huge wave of confidence, and he's looking to continue to extend that points lead. Just a great year that they put together so far. But last year was not Breyer's best result. Last year, finishing off the podium, and he's going to have a rider breathing down his neck who's looking to hit that reset button, looking to build upon a dominating performance from last year, and that's Dallas Daniels. And man, Lima was a great weekend for Estenson Racing last year. Dallas, one of the most impressive rides of his entire career came at Lima last year. Just absolutely smoked him there in the Allen County Fairgrounds. After being bridesmaid a couple of years, he breaks through, gets that victory. So much emotion spewing from him. Dallas, someone who truly appreciates the history of this sport, and to get that victory at that iconic track, the same track where he made his debut on the single back when he started his career in the sport. But to finally get that victory at Lima, man, you could see how much it meant to him. And if Dallas can get back on top of the box for the first time since Daytona, that would be a major confidence boost for him. He hasn't had a bad year. He's been on the podium every time out, but Breyer has just been better these past few rounds. He stayed with him in Daytona and has kept the pressure on. He's gotten the better at Dallas 3 races in a row and has stretched that Twins points lead. But we're coming into where the season is really going to, like we said, pretty much reset. And Lima, again, Dallas has been so strong there, and it's going to take a lot to get ahead of him this year. I think Dallas, with this Triple Crown format, Triple Challenge format, I'm going to say Crown probably a lot. Just deal with it. Bear with me. Dallas is going to be really difficult to beat on the cushion half mile there in Lima, as well as at the Quoin Mile, where he's going to be looking for a little redemption after Jared got the better of him there last year. We got to see a little taste of Breyer and Dallas at the mile at DuQuoin back in the RPM race in April, but it's just a little taste. We're going to get to see the real thing over 4th of July weekend when they get to duke it out there at the first mile of the season. While Dallas and Breyer have checked out of the championship, there's a rider with multiple wins at Lima who's in a fight for 3rd in the championship right now and is looking for that first win of the year, looking for to get kind of back on track, if you will. And that's Brandon Robinson. Brandon Robinson has picked up victories at Lima in 2016 and 2022. He's also been on the podium 3 of the last 4 years at Lima and is just looking for a little bit more out of that Harley XG. He was up in the hunt for a win there in Sonoy, but other than that, he's just been, they're fighting for top 5s and hasn't really been in the fight for a victory. He's going to be wanting to change that ASAP. Right now, sitting 4th in points, just a few points behind Davis Fisher, and looking to rebound from, these 6th place results are just odd to see from Robinson on short tracks as they look to find comfort and look to find something with that XG platform this year. And Lima, a place where Brandon's found some success. While Daytona is his most successful track, and that wasn't really great to him earlier in the year, a few more reps, and again, that opportunity to reset the year coming into Lima. Brandon's going to be holding that thing wide open. He's put together really impressive rides there in the past. He won on the Harley XR, so can he get a win on the XG now when the series heads there? The Triple Challenge format could be beneficial to him as well. I don't really know what to expect with that little wrinkle thrown in. It's going to be so exciting with all these guys having to really just get after it so soon. What strategies are they going to play? What's going to happen there in those shorter races? Are some guys going to settle in and then save it for that final race to get that triple points and dig out of a little bit of a hole? We'll just have to see how it all plays out. But I expect Brandon to be up in the mix. There's these sort of top 5 riders and points have kind of really proven to be the class of the Twins field, but sometimes people throw wrinkles in there and sneak up like we saw with James Ott. I want to touch on James Ott more in a little bit, but we got to look at Davis Fisher, who, he's sitting 3rd in points. He's put together a great year, got that runner-up finish recently at Silver Dollar. And Davis he's been super strong since moving over to that KTM, being with a familiar team, even though a different bike. That Rackley Racing Camp it's been great, I think, for Davis, and having Jimmy Wood on that team has been beneficial. We see it paying dividends. We're waiting for Davis to get that 2nd expert win of his career, that 2nd Twins victory. And while Lima's maybe not been his best track on the Twin, he did come off of a 4th place finish last year, put together a really strong ride there. And again, has got so much confidence coming into this year. Hopefully this lull that we've had in the season doesn't take that away from him, and he can keep powering through and get right up there in the mix for victories once again. Really strong competitor in Sonoy, that epic battle that we had down there. Really fun podium battles back in Daytona. And as we mentioned, that's runner-up finish there in Silver Dollar. So Davis sitting third in points and looking to crack the podium or more when we hit Lima. A rider who's been on the podium and is also in his home state when the series hits Lima is Jared van der Kooi. Van der Kooi was third at Lima back in 2021, but since that podium has yet to finish inside the top 5 on a twin at Lima, back in his home state. He's going to get back on the cushion. Van der Kooi has shown glimpses of being really fast this year. He got locked in a battle with James Ott toward the end of the Silver Dollar there. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum probably about what could have been in Sonoy. So Van der Kooi coming back to Lima, and we'll see what he and that Fast Track KTM team can produce in his home state, and right there in that mix with Brandon Robinson and Davis Fisher for third in the championship and needing a breakout performance. I fully expect one of these 3 riders to get a victory. Like Dallas and Breyer can't win every single race, can they? Surely Davis Fisher, Brandon Robinson, Jared van der Kooi are going to break through and get a win at some point, right? We talked about James Ott earlier and how much he impressed at Silver Dollar with leading laps, with getting that top 5 on the G&G bike. And we're coming into a couple of tracks that James was awesome at last year in the singles class. Lima, he's been in the top 5 the last 3 years when he was on that First Impressions team. He even got a podium back in 2023 at Lima. And then Quoin last year with the podium finish, right there in the mix for the win there, fighting for the lead and up there in the battle all race long. Very impressive runs from James at these 2 tracks. And now hopping aboard that G&G bike, which has found success with Corey Texter in the Production Twins class back in 2022. I feel like this could be a great opportunity for James Ott to once again sneak back into the top 5. I'm not sure a win maybe is in the cards just yet, but could he potentially get that first main event, that 10 lap or maybe the 15 lapper? James is in good shape. We'll just have to see how he performs now stepping up to the twin, but on a track that he's got to be coming in with a good bit of confidence with how well he was able to perform on the single. And definitely looking forward to seeing what James Ott is able to do and what that G&G team can bring to Lima this weekend. It's hard to think that he's going to be able to steal the overall victory in the Triple Challenge or maybe that win on Saturday night, but you just never know, and that's why everybody straps on the helmet, the steel shoe, and the leathers and competes every single weekend. James is locked in a really fun little battle there, that sort of third tier of riders with Trent Lowe, who's looking to get back into the top 10 after his worst finish of the year at Silver Dollar. That 12th place finish, definitely not what the Honda team is looking for, and Trent's going to be looking to bounce back on that platform. We've seen Dan Bromley, aside from that that did not start where he wasn't able to because of the foot injury he sustained in Daytona on the opening night, but every other race of the season, he's been inside the top 10, even getting a top 5. And a Mission Challenge victory on that Suzuki has proven that thing can get after it. And Bromley will be looking for more there in Lima. Additionally, in that battle is Max Whale on the Royal Enfield. Dalton Gauthier was able to bring that bike home in 8th last year at Lima. We don't really have a great sample size of Max at Lima. He's been injured several times when the series has come through, but he did get a pretty solid finish when he was on the singles class, finishing behind Henry Wiles there when he was running in the singles class. But yeah, just not a great sample size for Max on this track, but we'll see what he's able to do on that Royal Enfield. Additionally, coming in with some confidence, Logan McGrain, back-to-back top 10s for him. And now Declan Bender gets to debut that OTB Racing Yamaha. We got to see him turn some laps at a District 6 race, got to see Frank's footage from up there, and Declan looked good on that bike. But that track, much different than what he's going to be experiencing at Lima. I don't know. I fully expect Declan to be in the top 10 at Lima. But what I'm really intrigued about is seeing Declan hit Quoin on that bike. Brandon Price podiumed that bike at Quoin last year, and Declan at the time achieved his best Twins result of the season at Quoin, even though he was fighting that bike across the finish line there in Quoin last year. But I think Declan and that OTB Racing team could really surprise some people when Quoin rolls around there over the 4th of July weekend. I think Declan might be in the hunt for a victory there. I don't know about at Lima as far as the victory goes, but Declan is going to be, he's got a ride for the year, and we're really excited for that, and definitely looking forward to seeing what he's able to accomplish. If not a win, maybe a first career podium for Declan coming into Quoin. So keep your eyes on that OTB Racing number 70 for the next couple of weeks. Now into the singles class. We talked about how great of a weekend this was last year for Essence and Racing when they came to Lima. Tom Drain finally getting the monkey off his back after finishing behind Cody Kopp for a couple of years. He gets that victory in Lima. And he's going to be looking to back that up. He's still chasing his first win of the year. And this is an opportunity for a rider like Drain to get a win streak going. He was really strong in Lima last year. He's great on the miles, even though Quoin didn't quite go his way last year. This is definitely an opportunity for Tom Drain to extend that points lead and put together another great ride. This hasn't been a bad year at all for Tom Drain. He's put together really consistent, really smart rides, not pushed the issue, and has got himself in the right there in the championship hunt. Not behind the 8 ball like he's been the past couple of years. He's leading the pack now and coming into a track that he's found nothing but success at. Those 2 runner-up finishes where he made his debut and came home second behind Cody Kopp. Then following year looked to be a major contender with Cody and had that weird little exhaust thing going on that Cody's able to get around him and pull away for the win. But like we said last year, Tom and Cody going at it and Tom prevailing last year for the victory. But he's going to have a major challenger and a rider who's coming in with a heavy heart, and that's Chase Sadoff. And I'll be honest, I think Chase Sadoff is going to win this triple challenge night in Lima. Chase has been on the podium 2 of the 3 times he's raced in Lima. Other than a bad night there in 2023, Chase has been a factor, and these races present great opportunities for Chase to drop the hammer, get out front, lay down that sprint speed, and show just how strong he is on this bike. And again, we mentioned he's racing with a heavy heart after the passing of his grandmother, and our hearts go out to the Sadoff family, and we're thinking of you guys. And Chase is going to have that extra motivator coming into this weekend. Some people may think of it as a distraction, but I think it's going to fuel Chase's fire. He sits 5 points behind Drain. That little mishap in Daytona, that opening night, the little penalty he got applied, will that become a factor? I don't know. But I think Chase is going to drop the hammer. I don't know that anybody's going to sweep the 3 main events, like I said earlier, but if there was a rider who, if I were to have to bet on a rider to win all 3 main events, I might put Chase Sadoff in that category. Yeah, sure, he hasn't won Lima yet. I know Cody and Tom have gotten the better of him the past couple of years there, but I've been really impressed with his from Daytona onward, from night 2 of Daytona through the rest of this year. Been really impressed with Chase's riding. He's had to overcome a little bit of adversity from earlier, struggles earlier in the day, but that performance he put together in Sonoy and just Chase being so aggressive and so fast, we've gotten to see glimpses of him racing some events during this downtime, a couple RPM events, and I'm very excited to see what Chase and Tom can write in this next chapter of their rivalry. Tom got some solid laps at Harpster, Ohio, but there was a rider who was able to get the better of Tom in Harpster the majority of that weekend, and that's the 3rd rider of this sort of title fight. He's inching back into the championship hunt. Trevor Bruner had a great weekend in Harpster, won 3 of the 4 expert main events that weekend in the Mission Food CTR Flat Track Series. And while Lima has not been the best to Trevor, he's yet to podium there. And then that whole issue last year where he wasn't allowed to race, but Trevor's got a little bit of momentum going. We've seen him win a good bit at not just Harpster, but also picked up a couple of victories at an RPM race, in the past few weeks. And Trevor's going to be riding a wave of confidence coming off of his best finish of the year, that runner-up finish in Silver Dollar, where he showed a good bit of speed out west. And, another rider who can use this time to reset and really open those bikes up. Trevor's found success on miles with the Turner Racing team when he had his first stint with that crew back in 2021. So this could be a great opportunity for Trevor to get that first win of the season and really claw back into this title fight. Again, right now, 14 points adrift. Trevor is a rider that I'm a little bit worried about in the Triple Challenge format, but potentially Saturday may be an opportunity for him. But Trevor was getting good starts, and he was right up there in the mix in Harpster. Harpster, a much different track than Lima, other than maybe the surface they're racing on. More narrow, different shape. And again, like we said, Lima has not been the best to Trevor recently, as Chase and Tom have proven to have better results at that track in the past. He's going to have to overcome that and just try to keep those guys in sight as he quests for that championship. The Turner Racing Camp wants a number 1 plate in that pit area, and right now Trevor's starting to position himself in that title fight. So we'll see what the number 21 is able to bring to Lima this weekend. Additionally, hey, there's a rider who's unbeaten in AFT competition, and that's Cage Tadman. And Cage's riding style, that just aggressive, get after it riding style, the kid is an absolute show. It's going to be fun to watch him at Lima. And, he's out of his home state now, locked in for the full season with Jerry Cinchfield's team. Cage, man, if he's just outside the top 5 in points, if we get a strong weekend out of Cage here these next couple of weeks, if he's able to get another couple of victories out of these next 3 rounds and claw that, he's in a major deficit after missing the first 3 races. What could have been with that? But at the same time, maybe if Cage goes to Daytona and struggles down there, does his confidence Is his confidence shaking? And do we even see the performance that we saw in Ventura and Chico? You just never know. But right now, Cage sitting outside the top 5 in points. He's about, I want to say, not looking at the standings right in front of me, but roughly 38 to 40 points back of Tom Drain right now. But if Cage gets that gap within a race, if he can knock that gap down to under 23 over this next little stretch before we head to Lucas Oil and then out west to those Sturgis short tracks, watch out for a late season charge from Cage. It's wild to think about him as a championship contender after having to miss 3 rounds, but this season with the singles class has just had so many just sort of odd moments in it. Not so much surprising that Cody Cobb won both races in Daytona, but to take points away from the likes of Chase and Tom, there's an opportunity there. And then again, Cage doing what he did out west, big chance for him to now showcase more of what he's got. And we got to see some footage of him at Bakersfield at Kern, picking up victories, keeping that confidence going as we head into Lima. It's going to be fun to see what he's able to do here. I don't see Cage finishing outside the top 10 in Lima. I'm not even sure I see him finishing outside the top 5 with what he's got going, especially on that triple challenge night. While I think Chase Sadoff might be the favorite in that format, Cage is another rider who's gotten great starts and been able to drop big, just heater laps earlier in his main events, but those have come on short tracks. So we'll see how that factors in when you send him out there on the cushion half mile in Lima. There's 4 riders who are going to be making debuts in the series this week here in Lima, and you got to be excited for that. New talent coming into the class. First of which, we talked about Walker Porter a little bit in our Lucas Oil preview. The Lucas Oil didn't get to happen, postponed to mid-July, but Walker had some pretty good performances at Harpster. He won a heat race out there, was credited with a podium that Friday, that rain-shortened program. I thought Walker had a better opportunity to make a real splash at Lucas Oil on like a clay car track, or maybe maybe at DuQuoin. I'm not sure what to expect out of Walker in Lima. Definitely a top 10. I don't see him falling outside the top 10 at all. I think Walker and that Turner Racing team, they put together a lot of work, and it's been fun to watch him get more comfortable on that bike and be up there in the mix fighting with the best riders on the planet there in the singles class. So Walker making his debut, his long-awaited debut. He was the Horizon Award winner last year, very accomplished amateur rider, and we're expecting some good things out of him. Like I said, definitely think he'll be able to manage a top 10 there in his debut. Those podiums and wins, I'm not sure just yet, but who knows? I mean, Cage Stabman won on debut, so maybe Walker can as well. I think there's a rider who has an opportunity to really open some eyes this weekend who's also making his debut, and that's Trevor Martin. And Trevor was really, really fast at Harpster as well, and Trevor's won several RPM events on these types of tracks. He's going to be in his home state. Can he do what Cage did? Get that win in his first race in his home state. And it's like a perfect storm. Lima is the track for Trevor Martin to debut at. Being a rider who's so comfortable on these cushion tracks, we're excited to see what Trevor's able to bring to Lima. He's such a super fast and strong kid. He's going to be one to watch, and a rider who I think could turn a lot of heads. If you aren't familiar with Trevor Martin, keep your eye on that number 180. When the singles class heads out there. I have no doubt that Trevor Martin's going to be making main events and be fighting for top 10s, maybe even top 5s as well. Keep an eye on that kid this week, and it's going to be fun to see his first start in American Flat Track. And we get to see it twice. We get the doubleheader, man. Lima, doubleheader weekend at Lima. Even though we've only got the 1 half mile, the 1 cushion track, at least it's Lima, and thank you to Jared Meese for putting that together. But anyway, back to the riders making their debut. Just recently noticed that Ryder Reese is going to be making his pro debut at Lima. And Ryder's somebody that we've gotten to watch in the District 6 area when we've gotten to go to events like Hagerstown, or even watching him come up through the amateur ranks down at Bike Week at the Stephen Ace races. We're really excited to see what Ryder Reese is able to do. He had a great battle at Square Deal with Braden Fanders earlier this year. A rider from Australia making his debut at Lima. Where have you heard that before? There was a pretty successful rider leading AFT singles points that made his first start at Lima. We talked about Tom Drain finishing second in his debut in the AFT singles class. And while I don't think Billy Van Aert is going to finish on the podium at Lima, keep an eye out for this guy, because he finished third at the North Brisbane Cup this past year. And the only riders that were able to get the better of him were Jack Miller and Tom Drain. Jack Miller is a MotoGP rider, and Tom Drain leads the AFT singles class. Billy Van Aert was able to get the better of Maxwell, Dallas Daniels, and Cody Kopp at that event. And yes, the North Brisbane Cup, significantly different format, different style of bike basically than what you're going to be riding at Lima. But this is a great chance to get to see Billy showcase his talent And he's a very fast Australian rider and is somebody to keep an eye on. And I fully expect Billy to make the main events, to qualify for the Triple Challenge events, and to open some eyes as well. We'll just have to sort of play the wait and see game with him for sure. I don't want to put any sort of lofty expectations on Billy as he comes into his American flat track debut, but just a really talented rider from Australia. And it's so cool to see more talent, more riders coming from across the world here into American flat track to compete. And you've got the Drain family, the Page family. Now Billy's coming through, and there's so much talent up in Canada as well. And as well as riders in Europe. We're getting to see Sammy Halbert dice it up with them over in the FIM series. So maybe we get more and more worldwide competition coming into American flat track, and looking forward to seeing Billy make his first start. This singles class just has so many variables to it. There's so many riders who could make an impact and sneak up there and steal a victory, steal a podium, turn some heads. Look, First Impressions has Chad Coase, who's won a Production Twins main event there. They've also got Evan Renshaw, who was wicked fast at the Amateur Day a couple of years ago. And last year at Lima, he finished 6th, and 3 of the riders who finished ahead of him have moved on from the singles class. So this could be a great opportunity for Evan to bounce back after that brutal crash in Silver Dollar and get another great performance under his belt, maybe another podium. He got his first one at Sonoy, and he loves these tracks where you can just twist it and let it hang out. So looking for good things out of the First Impressions team. The rider that finished behind Evan Renshaw last year in Lima, Aiden Roos-Evans, he was 7th at Lima last year. He's coming off of back-to-back 7th place finishes. Those two guys seem to always find each other on the racetrack. Roos-Evans working with Jeffrey Carver, who has put together some really, really impressive rides at Lima in the past. See what Roos-Evans is able to do. You also have to look at Terrence Santero, who sits 4th in AFT singles points right now. And were it not for a crash, Santero would have had another top 10 on the year last year. Lima was the only time he finished outside the top 10 during the closing part of that season. So what's Taryn got in store for us at Lima? He's put together a really consistent year so far. He even got that podium there in Ventura. So we'll see what the 75 bike is able to deliver, plus the likes of, Braden Fanders. Skylar Sintel looked pretty good there in Harpster during the first day when he was out there. These are all riders I'm not sure I expect necessarily to make place for the victory, but you just never know. And we've also got Dalton Gauthier returning to the grid. And while Lima has not been great to Dalton in the past, he's back, hopefully fully recovered. And the Triple Challenge format could be really, really interesting for him. That's a rider who could definitely get up there in the mix. And Dalton's been a rider who's gotten really good starts in the past and been up front there. These 10, 15 lap, 20 lap events. We're just glad to see Dalton back at the racetrack and just adding more and more depth to that singles field. So that's just a few things to touch on coming into Lima this weekend. There's so many things that are happening at the Allen County Fairgrounds, and make sure you guys, if you can't be there, you're tuned in on Flo Racing and you're following along with everything that's happening. We mentioned the amateur race the day before that Robbie Bobby's putting on, which gives you a little preview of what to expect when Amateur Nationals heads up in DuQuoin, and that starts off right after Lima. The Sunday after the Lima doubleheader, you've got the Youth and Vet Half Mile up in DuQuoin for Amateur Nationals to start off. June 30th will be the Amateur Half Mile. July 1st, the Youth and Vet TT. July 2nd, the amateur riders get their shot at the TT. And then an action-packed day, July 3rd, the Youth Half Mile will take place again in the morning. Youth riders getting back on the half mile. And then the amateur and vet riders will tackle the short track, the indoor short track in DuQuoin. July 4th, big day for the Amateur Nationals. The amateur and vet riders hit the DuQuoin Mile on July 4th. And then July 5th, that Saturday, capping it all off, the day of the AFT race, they'll be on the mile that night. But in that morning, the youth riders will tackle the short track, so you get a nice little double dose of flat track racing there. Going to be an exciting week of racing, just nonstop action from Thursday all the way through next Saturday with amateur events and expert events. Man, this is a great time to be a flat track fan. Let's lock in. Let's enjoy everything that's in store for us. We're so pumped to see how these championship battles take place, how Amateur Nationals turns out, who gets to be the Youth and Vet Rider of the Year, who gets that Fast Brain Award, who's going to be the newest Nikki Hayden Horizon Award recipient. You have to kind of, if you're going to stack your chips, I would say Bodie Page has got to be the one to look at for that particular award, just with how well he performed there last year, but he wasn't eligible for the Horizon Award last year. We get to see this full showcase of Australia versus the U.S. with Bodie Page, Sam Drain, Jed Fife representing from Australia. You've got the likes of Braxton Reagan, Adam Budman Wood, Jack Brooks, just to name a few, Charlie Jakes, Cody Mishi, they're going to be rocking for the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a handful of riders come down from Canada to spice it up there at Amateur Nationals. Again, that just international flair that we're getting, and it's going to be some great battles there. So follow along with the Amateur Nationals. Before I close, I got to touch on Speedway Grand Prix racing. And this past weekend, that series hit its midway point in Gorzów in Poland, and we got to see a new winner on the season. We talked about how Bartosz Zmarzlik has won the odd-numbered rounds of the season. He got the win in round 1, 3, and 5. We got to see Jack Holder and Dan Bewley take rounds 2 and 4, and that pattern continues. The even-numbered rounds sees a new winner. Now, Zmarzlik and his main title rival, Brady Kurtz, they were the top point earners in the heat races. They are locked into the final. Then we saw the Dan Bewley, who won the sprint race earlier in the weekend, and Freddie Lindgren also add themselves to that final. Off the start, Brady Kurtz gets the whole shot, blocks Zmarzlik's line. It looked like Bewley was going to clear Kurtz, though, coming off of turn 2, but Brady gets a good enough drive, hooks up, and charges into the lead. Zmarzlik, though, able to get around Bewley, and that Polish crowd was lit up. It was just Speedway GP in Europe is so fun to listen to. The crowd gets so invested into it. It's like it's a European football match. And they were hyped up to see their home hero, Zmarzlik, charging to the front, trying to get back around his main title rival, Kurtz. But Brady Kurtz running a really good line. He was entering in low, blocking off those dive bomb moves, and then drifting up into the middle of the track, grabbing enough grip to get off the corner, make it really difficult. You would have to sail it around the outside of him, and he was able to route a really strong line. And Brady Kurtz, we knew it was coming. The young Australian breaks through for his first victory of the season in hostile territory, beats his main championship rival in his Zmarzlik's home country, and Kurtz able to keep that championship battle at 11 points. Zmarzlik, again, just so consistent on the year and looking to bring home another championship. He's been just the ace of Speedway Grand Prix, has been the king of that series over the past few years. But Kurtz is making a name for himself this year. Man, I hope one day we can get another American back into Speedway Grand Prix. Greg Hancock and Billy Hamill were so fun to watch when I was growing up, and hopefully one day we can see another American charge into the Speedway Grand Prix conversation. But right now, we've got a really fun battle on our hands with Zmarzlik and Kurtz. And look, if you guys get a chance during the day, during those Saturdays when Speedway GP is happening, and you got Racer TV, formerly MAV TV, tune in to watch this, because this stuff is exciting, man. The sprint races, 4 laps every time. It's a great product and really fun to take in. So check out some Speedway Grand Prix when you're not already occupied with flat track racing, because look, that's our number 1 priority. That's going to do it for us today. Again, thank you guys so much for checking this out. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you for welcoming me into this flat track family, because Lord knows you can listen to a lot of other people who have far more knowledge and are far more of an insider, and definitely just smarter as it comes to talking about flat track racing. I'm just a fan. I know that I'm ignorant in a lot of areas, and I just appreciate you guys giving me a chance and giving this channel a chance and listening to us talk about racing. Please make sure you're supporting everybody that's producing content around flat track racing and helping grow this sport. It's truly an honor every time I get the phone call from Kolby Carlile or Corey Texter to be a guest on their shows. It's honestly just an honor to hear from them and talk about racing, whether it's for a podcast or just to talk in general. It's just, like we said, it's so cool that you guys have welcomed me into this fold, and our flat track family is truly a tight-knit group, and we're all family. And I'm just thankful to have been, able to meet so many amazing people in this sport and to be able to talk about this incredible form of motorcycle racing. So, guys, if you like what we're doing here, we appreciate the likes, the follows, the subscribes, the comments, the shares, all that jazz. If you want to talk to us off of this platform, you can always shoot us an email, flattrackflashback@gmail.com, or follow us on Instagram, at Flat Track Flashback on Instagram. Every once in a while, we'll throw up a reel there or a few stories or whatnot. Thank you guys so much for checking this out, and let's lock in. There's so much to be hype about coming up. We've got an exciting time ahead of us with Lima and Du Quoin. So yeah, without further adu, let's enjoy some racing. That weather better stay away. Let us take it all in. But we know that Jared Mees and his team are going to get that track prepped and give us some epic racing conditions for the boys to take on there in Lima. So everybody, thank you guys again for checking us out, ladies and gents. We love you so much. Take care.